it's time to start. Let me start sharing my screen. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session from Data Webinars. My name is Ramon. I am the owner from Excel API, from we help people and organizations to do more with their data. So if you need any help with your data or you would like to get more out of your data, visit excelmbi.com and then you will find more resources. But today is about data modeling. And if you register for this session, it's probably because you would like to learn more about data models. And we'll be starting from the beginning in terms of Kimball model. This is not a masterclass. This is a webinar of 30 minutes. So expect to see what you can do with data models in Power BI and using a little bit of the Kimball data modeling practices. And this is what we'll be covering today. If you work in Power BI before, probably you are a bit familiar with data models. If you haven't, probably this is a good starting point for you to understand more how Power BI structure the data, right? At the beginning of this session, it will be theoretical, and then right at the end, I will provide you some information for you to do a practical experience in Power BI. If you are willing to experiment with Power BI, this is the right place for you because you will be able to practice Power BI. If you don't have Power BI installed, you can start it later, but I will provide you the files that you need to do the experience, okay? So the session for today is called Fix Your Data Model. This is one of the most challenging parts if you have worked in Power BI reporting before, or even if you just work with SQL databases. This is something that is challenging sometimes because it's that you need to find the right way how to can relay multiple tables across multiple systems, okay? So today we'll be reviewing the Kimball model, which is someone who created an institution about this and have many books. And nowadays it's a full practice. So everyone who will speak about data modeling, Kimball, it should be quite familiar to them. It's not the only practice. There are other practices as well, but this is the one that I found that is really useful for make Power BI work really smoothly. Okay. Then we'll be covering the star schemas for Power BI. We'll speak what are fact tables, what are dimension tables, and some best practices for Power BI. Okay. My name is Ramon. As I mentioned to you before, I'm the founder from Excel MBI. I've been working in this practice for the last, let's say, 5 years. And I found it really interesting because I've seen that there's many opportunity for business who would like to get more out of their data using tools like Power BI or Google Looker or Tableau, any tool that allows you to see your data in a different way, especially today with all the AI capabilities, we are able to create more in less time. So I think it's a great time for data analytics now within the age of AI. As I mentioned to you before, we'll be covering a little bit on the foundations, and then I will explain you a little bit what is the Kimball methodology, which is nothing new. Actually, it has been in the market for over 30 years. And then we'll be applying the concepts into Power BI. All right. So the main question that we have to resolve here is how to fix complex data models, okay? And normally the reason why your model breaks, the models in Power BI are how you interconnect two different tables. And sometimes when you start to create more and more visualization, you found that something you need create a formula. And then this formula doesn't do what you expect it to do. For example, instead of to calculate all the products, it just calculates some, or it double it up the numbers, all right? So if you experiment this before, it's mainly that you have a problem in your data model. Not in the calculation itself, it's mainly in the data model. So the problems that you face is like, for example, when you import row 50 column and flat files directly into Power with no transformation. For example, you just chunk everything inside. And then, for example, you have also one of the other challenges that have Power BI when your semantic model is too heavy, all right? And it makes really hard to process the data but also star schemas and proper data model can make this super light. So for example, if you just import your full tables in 500 megabytes, if you do a proper data model, that it could become like 50 megabytes or 100 megabytes, okay? The other problem that you commonly have in Power BI is bidirectional relationship. Normally, the relationship between two tables, it should be from one to many and only in one direction. All right. If you have multiple directions, something that it creates some problems, you can use it. And there are certain cases that you have to use it, but try to reduce it to the minimum. Okay. And I will say no date table. Sometimes you have to declare your date table. That it will help you to make your semantic model much easily. So there's just one date um, in the whole report that makes you see the things much easily. And normally we do the relationships in integers, so that makes the things much easier. For example, if you have your product ID, normally we do the relationship in those columns and not in the product description of the product name, because it's just a matter of you have a extra space or something there, and you will break your model. So it's much reliable to use integers, because those numbers, yeah, it's really hard that you make a space or a odd character. If you force that column to be integer, it will be much easier to make your data model much stable. Okay. And yeah, this is the problem that we're trying to resolve, is when measures returns you inconsistent and ambiguous numbers. So this is what we're trying to resolve with the star schemas. Okay. And as I mentioned to you before, just for the matter of using a star schema, you can make your report way faster. I've seen some data in the internet that say 10 times faster, but your report has to be really in bad condition to make it 10 times faster. It's good, it improves the speed, but something, yeah, say 10 times faster is quite big, but I have seen major gains in speed and performance when you do a proper style schema in your Power BI. If you've seen that your Power BI is really slow and takes time to refresh, probably there is a problem there in the star schema as well. I will skip this date table for now, and now we'll go to measures over columns. So normally in Power BI, we create measures, and that measure is different when you create a column-based calculated column. It's because when you create a measure, you just go to the whole, for example, you do a summary from this column, and that's all, and the memory just saves certain value, which is quite small. But if you do a new column, try to reduce it to the minimal, because instead of to do this one calculation, it does one calculation for each row. And for example, you have 10,000 rows, it will do the calculation for all of them. So try to reduce that to minimal, unless that you use something like Power Query that you do the transformation on the data source. Okay. And as I mentioned to you before, tables should be joining in integers, ideally. There are some discrepancies nowadays on this topic, because people say that probably we won't need any more surrogate keys, but that is totally up to the complexity of what you're building. For my experience, I will say if you have 100% of the time chance to create an integer surrogate key, do it all the time, and it will make your report much easy to read and understand, troubleshoot it, and fix it, and also will make it much faster to do the connections. Okay, so everything that you can create. You have to create surrogate keys, according to me. All right. Okay. Before to jump into this, I would like to show you this image. Okay. I hope that you can see it properly. All right. Here on the left, we have a star schema. Okay. In Power BI, looks slightly different, but it's basically the same intention. So in the center, you have the transactional table, and surrounded, you have multiple dimension tables which enrich your information in your fact table. For example, you have a date key in this table, but you doesn't know which week it is. You doesn't know which date of the week it is. You doesn't know if it is end of the month. You doesn't know if if it's a Tuesday or Thursday, and then you would like to display the number, the name like that, or you would like to show the day of the week in integer. So all those features you can put in your dim table. So in here you just put the date, and here you put all the features that you would like to include into your data, into your date, sorry. For example, you like to put financial year, you like to put information about if it's weekend or not, like a flag, anything that it will enrich the date, it can go into this connection. And this connection normally is from one to many, okay? Because there is one element for that specific date, but in here it could be many transactions in the same date, so it won't crash. Because if you do a one-to-one connection, it will never work because normally in the fact table you will have more than one record with the same date. Okay, and all of those ones that say key means they are connected to something. Like this one, this is the dim product key, and this one connect with this one, and it's the same. In the fact table, which is your transactional table where you track all the activities that happen in the sales, for example, this is the fact sales. You track, we sold the product in a certain day. Which product? Number 111. However, we don't need to have the name into this table because more columns that you add, more heavy will become the table. But instead of here, because we only keep one record for that specific product 101, then we have the name of the category, the brand, the unit price, is it active or not. So we can keep everything here. So that is really important for you to create this kind of relationship because you can have so many different features, so many different enrichment features that will help you to make your data more accurate or prepare better filters. But all the details, you keep it in your table that is your dimension. So facts on the center, dimensions surrounded. Okay. Then same for the region. For example, we have, okay, the region key, and then we have the region name, the city, country, the sales territory, but we don't put that information as I mentioned to you here. The thing that we have to put there are normally the quantity of the product sold and the cost sold, because this is unique for each transaction and doesn't get reflected on the table surrounding. And lastly, we have the customer, we have the name of the segment, the industry, city, join, and so forth and so on. So this is what how a star schema looks like. And coming back into this image, here are the first step. Let me make this slightly smaller. Okay, much better. Those are the sequence that you do when you create these tables. Okay, firstly you select business process. In this case, the thing that I show you is the sales. Okay, the fact sales. This is the business process that we create, and then you start to make some question to yourself. It's like, what organizational activity are you trying to analyze? We just say sales, and each process becomes its own star schema. Okay, as you can see here, we have the fact cell here in the middle, but you can have sales orders, sales inventory, fact inventory, fact quotes, fact any kind of transaction. What else could be? Fact purchase, and anything that it can happen constantly, it will become a fact table. All right. Then you declare the grain. This means that how often you will receive an order. We'll do in summarizations. For example, we can have a fact table for monthly sales, which will add it up, summarize everything by month, or we can have a granularity by date, or we can have a granularity by date and time, which will make more detail into your fact table. In this case, we just put it by date, okay? But you can also do a monthly fact table, but it's really important to don't combine different kind of events. If you will be doing a fact table based on days, just keep it constantly in days. If you are doing a fact table based in months, create another table and then just put the records there, okay? So keep the grain separated and don't mix them up, okay? The number 3 is identify the dimensions, all right? As I just mentioned before, the dimensions are elements that will enrich your data. So for example, normally the DIMs that you normally see are dim customer, dim product, dim date, dim region, dim salesperson, dim, for example, if you are selling dim cars brand, and inside of the car brand table, you can have the origin, the year of the maker has started the company, so many different information about that. And then identify the facts. So what is the fact? Your facts will be numeric normally. For example, quantity, revenue, profit for each transaction, or yeah, normally there are not many elements in there, but anything that is proper from the transaction, owned by the transaction, has to go in the fact table. Okay. So even you can create some formulas to be able to create your results. I will show you all of this in data shortly, but this is the concepts that you want to get familiar with it. All right. So all of this is based on the Kimball strategy. Okay. Okay, now back to the diagram that I showed you in the beginning. One fact table with 4 dimensions. This is just one example. It can be 3 facts, 2 dimensions. It can be 1 fact, 10 dims. It will depend on the kind of data model that you are creating. Okay. Normally we use we put the fact cell in the core. In this way, it looks like a star. You see that you have the here in the center, and then you can drive an star, and in the center of the star always you will have your fact table. As I just mentioned to you before, one-to-many direction, this one is represented as 1 and n, or as a 1 and a star, okay, depending on the software that you're using. Fully denormalization, denormalized dimension, this means that all discrete attributes live in one flat dimension table, okay? No subtables there. If you can see, there is no reference table here. This doesn't grow. Ideally, we shouldn't connect too many things to the dim table to get more fields. So we put everything in plain in just one table. I will tell you what that means. Okay. And then we have integer surrogate keys. As I just mentioned to you, normally we use integer or numeric connections between those 2 tables. Okay. And in this case, we're speaking about the star schema. There's something called a snowflake schema, which look like this. The snowflake schema. Okay. Yeah, a snowflake schema is something different, and it goes more like this. As you can see, it's just not one fact table. It's something that it grows on the side. So we're not doing that in this example. This is everything about the star schemas. Okay, and this is what are the elements that you can see in your fact table, as I just mentioned to you before. The product key, the customer key, the region key, all those keys will be connecting to all those keys will be connecting to the dimensions, and the revenue, it will be something that it will be unique for each transaction. Okay. Then the 6 rules for a production ready model is to merge your date table, integer keys. I will keep repeating this in that way you can have a remember and you never forget. And single directions and measures over calculated columns. I just explained in the beginning. And high technical fields. This means that, for example, if you are using something like if you are building a data warehouse and you have a created date at, which means when the record has been created, probably you don't need to show that information, so you can hide that from the data model. Okay. The thing is that naming conventions are really important. So if you will be using a fact table with capital and capital, keep that consistent at your data model, which will make the things much easier. Instead of to call just date table, we call it dim table. If we instead of just to call it sales table or sales the last year, we call it fact sales. So that naming convention, it will make the things much easier for you and your team who is troubleshooting the model that you just designed. All right, this is another version of the model in a much bigger way. So here you can see what it contains, the dim table. All right, this is how you can use it in Power BI. This is how you use the dim product. And this is how you see the dim, what is inside of this customer and dim region. So we have multiple elements. So the grain of this is one row per geographic region, and that means, for example, we have one for, I don't know, Arkansas, one for Oakland, one for Wellington, and so on and so forth. Of course, this will depend a lot in the country that you are, and that is important for you because region for us it could mean North Island and South Island, but in US you will have a lot of different territories. So that it will depend specifically for your business and where it's based. Okay. If you, before to jump into the practical experience, I would like to remind you, if you would like to connect to any of these webinar session, I'm inviting you to connect and register to one of the live sessions where you are able to ask questions. Actually, if the people who are connecting now, you will be able to ask questions as we go. Also, if you're interested in any specific topic, just feel free to reach out. Go to Excel MBI and send us an email form, and then we'll be able to connect you and say your webinar about this specific topic that you would like to us to speak about. It will go in a certain date. Okay. We provide Power BI services, and also we have a podcast. So if you go here to the podcast, and you just go to excelmbi.com and then you go to learn. So let me disconnect from this. That way you don't see it. Okay. All right. So this is the excelmbi.com website. If you go here to learn, you will see what are the next events coming up. You just register, and then the next one coming up. And here are the past events, so you can watch them if you haven't seen it. If you would like to see the blog, here are plenty of news. We are constantly posting different interesting articles, always with diagrams for you to be able to understand better the concept that we're explaining. And then we have the podcast, which is in Spotify and YouTube. So you just go to the Spotify, which I run it with my friend Arjun, and we discuss different topics about data. So if you want to go here, just feel free to go, and then you will be learning more concepts about data. So if you are really into this is the place for you to go. All right. So now let's jump into the practical session. But before All right, now it's time to jump into the practical experience. So let's go. I will go to my Windows machine because Power BI only runs in Windows machines. So I will go into share. I will share you my screen. Now you should be able to see my Power BI. Okay, I prepared this spreadsheet, which I prepared with Claude. Okay, I haven't wrote line by line, so I decided to prepare with Claude. And here is what we have. We have the fact table. We contain multiple information, as you can see. And then we have the dim table, the dim product, and the dim customer and dim region. Okay. So if we import all of in here, if you want to go to each part of the exercise, you can go through this and then you can do more exercise. But for now, we'll just show you how to connect this data into the semantic model. So I will go here into get data. And I will look for an Excel file. And this Excel file is in my desktop. Is here. Okay, I will open it. Next. And just using as an Excel job, but you can use okay, here we are. Okay. I will import all those tables, which we have the fact, the dim product, dim date, all the rest I won't select it, and I will load this. Okay. So now it's loading the data. And I'm telling you that I will have some problems. And the reason why is because the first column, it contains the right information. However, the second one, it contains some odd information that which I need to remove it. For example, yeah. Yeah, now it's all good. So I have the DIN customer. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. You see that I have this, and then I have the description of the column. So I think I don't need that data at all. So I can just remove it. I can go here to the Power Query, just click here and transform data. And the thing that I will do, as you can see, all the tables doesn't have the right column in place. So the thing that I will do, I will go to use the first row as header, okay? And also I will take it out the PK. This is not needed. Okay, I will do the same here. I will select this one, use the first row as header, and I will unselect the PK, which I don't need it. Okay, same here, advanced, not there, sorry. We'll just go there and use the first row as header. So you see now it's detecting as a number, and I will remove this PK as well. I don't need it. I do the same now for this other table. I will create this one as header, and I will take this off. Done. And the last one is the dim region. I will do the same, and I will remove this one because we don't need it. Okay, cool. Now we have a clean data. You see now that all the tables look much better. The column name as it has to be, and the DLT is how I should have. So we'll close and apply, and this will refresh my tables. So the only thing that I will go through with you in this example is to, now everything looks much better. The only thing I will go with you in this example is this. So the fact, it should be in the middle, and it should be surrounded by the different tables, okay? So the thing that I don't need that connection. So I will remove that connection. So in here we have the DIN customer, we have the DIN product, and we have the DIN date, okay? And if you double click here, you see that the date key is connected with the date key is from many to one, and it's a single connection. This is what exactly we need, from one to many. In the diagram that I show you show as an N, but in Power BI it shows as an star, okay? Which is exactly the same, so don't worry about it. But now, for example, if you see in the fact table, I don't have something like the city name, okay? But that is not any problem because now that I have, for example, if I put all the transactions, I will put the date key, the product key, and I don't even need to put that. So I just will put the revenue and the quantity and the sell key, all right? So this sell key could be the invoice number, for example, okay? But this is what we have. But now because we have all the relation properly done, if I do this, I could just add the product name, and I could just add the category, and I could add, for example, the date of the full date, okay? But it's in the wrong format, so I will put in the right format. This is date, yes. Didn't work out because it's not recognizing that number as a date. Let me fix it. So I just go here and I go to advanced editor. Sorry, I'm just go to the date. So this one is date. Yeah, much better. Sorry for that. All right, so now that I fixed the date column, I just go back to it. And now we should see the proper date number. But I would like to show it as a I would like to display it as, so if I go here, all right. So in here now you can see that we can start to enrich the table with all the information from the other tables, and everything is working perfectly because this is of course a DL scenario, okay? So this is a way how we can, this is just an example. Yeah. So this is the way how you can create a proper data model, and this is how your data will flow properly. I hope that you understand a little bit more why your data model something doesn't work properly. For example, if I do this one to one, it will create an error. It won't work. So sometimes you will see in your data models that you have many to many, one to many in the wrong direction. So this is the kind of thing that you need to put attention to be able to fix it. And this is the kind of things that it will allows you to create better data models in the future. Data models is designed for, sorry, I will check my other screen. Okay. Data models is created to make your data analytics much easier to do. However, it's not always the 100% the solution for everything, for anything related with data. So just make that every time you are challenging with your Power BI, it could be related that you have a big problem in your data model. So if you would like to go back to this practice, I will be sharing this Excel with you, and just flick me an email and I will send it back to you. But this is the thing that you need to be really familiar if you would like to make proper Power BIs and especially data visualization projects. I hope that you enjoyed this session, and you are more than welcome to connect to the future ones. And if you have any question, just look for me on LinkedIn, just as a Ramon, Ramon, and or as an Excel MBI, and then you will find me on LinkedIn quite easily. I'm quite active there, so just flick me a message, and I will be more than happy to give you a hand if you need it. All right. Have a wonderful rest of the day. If it's midnight for you, if it's early morning where you are watching this video, thank you very much for joining, and I see you in the next one. Thank you very much.